So it's still the 2nd of February 2011. Outside here we've got Cyclone Yasi starting to take effect here in Ellie Beach. We're up at Toscana Village Resort enjoying some fine accommodation here as we've set up a little mini studio to cover the event. I'm joined by Terry Kemp, a very good friend of mine with Terry Kemp Builders. And thanks for coming in, Terry.
No worries, John.
Yeah, well, it's a bit breezy outside, but you've managed to find your way here and actually got here dry.
I know, the weather's turning pretty bad, but no, it's okay. It's not hit us too bad yet, John.
Yeah. Well, we've copped the front edge of this by the appearances. From what I understand, up in Kansas, not so much drama just as yet, but we've got some power outages and a bit of a surf break down the front here. It's here. It's here, isn't it?
John, it's amazing. Like, it's supposed to be nearly 1,000 kilometres away, and some of the wind gusts are as bad as we get in other cyclones. Certainly the one the other night we had, it was only a few nights ago, that was as strong as we're getting now.
Yeah, there we go, and we've still got a couple of hours before it actually even makes landfall. It's coming for us. But anyway, no, the reason I asked you to come in is a really interesting point for me, and we've seen with the television coverage here, and even in the background now, is that they've showed us dramatic footage of Tracy and the effect it had on Darwin. Obliterated the town virtually. We had Larry took out Innisfail in a very dramatic fashion. Similarly,
yes.
But now, what I want to touch on, though, you as a builder, obviously in touch with the latest building codes. Where have we moved to with building production and household production? Are the houses that much better now?
Okay, yes. The answer is there's been a lot of change from those early days. If we reflect back on Cyclone Tracy, that was 1974.
Yeah.
And we're looking at well over 30 years ago. Now, after Cyclone Tracy, the building code did change. You've got to imagine that Queensland homes were built on stumps. So you either had concrete or timber stumps that were just in the ground.
The classic Queenslander, yeah.
And the whole idea was to support the house structure and the weight of the house. So everything was designed to support the structure. But then after Cyclone Tracy, it changed. The building code then had to bring in this concept of holding things down onto the ground instead of supporting something. These days, the engineering behind it is all about holding things down. And that's why you have cyclone rods in your walls. You have different type of foundations. The foundations are there these days. They're quite deep and have mass concrete, not because they need to support the structure, but need to hold it down into the ground.
Oh, so there's an anchor, effectively.
Exactly, yes. And you imagine most houses, if they are on posts, or even if they're a slab on the ground, the foundations are designed to counteract the lift that the cyclonic winds will do to the structure.
Yeah, okay. Well, of course, once again, the most dramatic footage we see on the television is where roofs are peeling back and disappearing, and in fact they do find whole roofs elsewhere around the neighbourhood and that sort of thing, where it's just taken the thing whole as bowls, hasn't it?
Yeah, well that's right. And so the design, there's quite a few different ideas there. Certainly flat roofs are probably the worst design in cyclone area, because the wind is so strong that it has a tendency to lift the roof off the structure. It's not dissimilar than an aeroplane, the way it flies.
Okay.
So you've got this huge amount of wind coming through
blowing across a flat surface.
Yes, and it has a lift, and it just lifts the roof right off.
Oh, okay.
So a pitched roof is better in that case, but you'll notice that in all the houses these days, the roof is attached to the battens, very rigorously, and then the battens are tied down to the trusses or the rafters, and then there's cyclone rods that are holding that down into the foundation. Yeah,
because typically inside a modern building, there's actually steel rods that are tying it down, that are run from the full height of the wall.
Well, if it's a concrete wall construction, it's the same principle. Before they pour all the concrete in the wall, they have these brackets that poke up out of the wall, and they get bolted onto the trusses. So everything is made to be attached down into the foundations, and that's unless there's debris that smashes a window or smashes into the structure, they will survive quite comfortably. The Cyclone Yasi, which was only 22nd of March last year, the newer designed homes, even though they were confronted with 200-kilometre-hour winds, there was minimal damage.
Stars of flying colours, yeah. And that's been our experience. It was last year's Cyclone Yasi, which came right through Early Beach and over the top of your place, in fact, wasn't it? Right through Cannavale Beach.
Yeah.
But for the most majority of houses, it was only debris that did any sort of damage, wasn't it?
That's right. There was a huge amount of debris from trees, and that caused a lot of problems, but at least the houses were kept intact. Now, that's not true for every house, but houses built prior to 1984 wouldn't have those newer ideas incorporated into the design. So
we're reasonably confident about the household design that there is now and the modern houses that are built, but still, and we touched about this off camera, was the likes of the older age Queenslanders are a bit of a
risk.
A bit of a risk involved,
yes.
Isn't it? Because you've got a wooden structure with a tin roof just sitting
on top of these stumps.
Because even, I recall, that you've got those ant caps that are there. So
that's right.
The structure's just sitting on top of the stumps, effectively, isn't it?
That's correct. But these days, even there is plenty of things you can do to improve its ability to withstand the breeze, the wind. They have, you have this angled bracket that goes through the bottom bearer that goes then in through the side of the concrete stump. If you were doing a renovation on an old Queenslander, you would be required to upgrade that structure so that it had an ability to withstand a certain strength of wind. Now, something else people wouldn't realise is that depending on where the house is located, along a foreshore or up the side of a hill, they give it different category ratings. You might be building your house to a category 1 or a category 2 or category 3. There's 3 different categories, and it depends on the wind strength. And the engineer or the local council assist in determining what those categories are when you get your house designed. That's the way the system works. And this is all north of Brisbane. In fact, Caboolture, I think, is the demarcation line. So even now in areas south of, like in Brisbane and south, they don't have those same rigorous requirements that we have in Queensland, and particularly along the coastline. So if you've built a house behind a hill, you might be category 3, which is a minimal amount of structural tie down. That means you might have your cyclone rods every 1800 apart, or you don't have to screw every single batten down on. There's a lot of minor issues there that you don't have to do, compared to a house that's built on the foreshore facing the ocean. Which would be the strongest category. Now,
we'll touch on also, of course, you're well known for your eco efforts and picked up a number of HIA awards, which is fantastic. But obviously, you're very much, and you were speaking before about the need, if you are doing eco-type fit-outs to houses, that even one thing that you run into strife with is the retrofit whirlybird as a means of cooling.
Yes, the problem there, John, is that the reason people fit those ventilators is so that it aerates the roof space between the ceiling and the roof.
And which is important based upon what you've told me previously,
That does work. The negative is that in a cyclone, they just spin off and then rain gets in. So, after Louis, we noticed that a lot of rain or water ingress damage was caused after the
whirligigs
departed company with the roof. Now, so there's a couple of techniques. If you do have them on your house, a technique is to put a strong plastic bag, wrap it around the whirligig, like get up on the roof and put a plate, and that stops it from spinning. Okay, but the best technique is to remove it and put a cyclone cap on it. You can actually seal them off, remove them and seal them off, and that would be the preferred method. But
probably a little bit late to do that now. It's just that I think Bunnings and Home Harbour are probably closed. So
that's right, Bunnings. They'd have a lot of them hanging around, John. But look, the point is that there are things you can do to every house to minimise the risk. ply, boarding up the house from the outside with ply is a good technique. I mean, it really does work. Years ago, people used to put these shutters, like a roller door, back to front that sit on top of windows and doors and came down.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they looked a bit ugly, but these days...
They're very effective.
They were very effective, yes. So, that's something that people could do to help in the event of such a strong... like the cyclone we're confronted with, though, John, it doesn't matter what the building design was, like none of them are built to withstand 300-kilometre-hour winds.
Yes.
And
so it is. We are quite concerned, and this is not our typical way of having a chat in front of the camera, is it? And we're not likely to lock Rose in the cupboard this time, or in the garage this time.
We did make light of things in the past, John, but it is a serious issue, and the unfortunate thing is that this particular cyclone, it will cause a lot of damage wherever it crosses. Yeah. Not only to vegetation, but to building structures. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of work needed to fix these places up, I'm sure. There was something else I was going to mention, and that is... if people are concerned about this, the house and the structure, it's not that hard to get it looked at before, at the start in the off-season, before cyclones approach. And there's things you can do to a house to improve its resilience against these winds. And most builders are capable of looking at that for the person.
Well, they're virtually obligated these days too. There's a lot of onus on you guys to ensure you do a good job.
That's right. Newer houses are built to a code, and that code is proving to be quite, structurally sound. Yeah. It's unless it's really just prior to the new building code coming into effect, or years of neglect. Any house, no matter like another thing is going around under the house and tightening up the cyclone rods. If it's a slab on the ground house, well, you don't do that. But nevertheless. Any deterioration in the soffit sheeting or rusting roof, if you're close to the beachfront and your roof is getting rusty and the fixings are getting rusty, well, you do need to replace them things. Yeah. Because they will fail in a big blow.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that's probably about enough for now, and in terms of what you do on YouTube, anyway. But Terry, thank you very much for coming in. Obviously, some very sobering news in terms of. The building here, but at the same time we are quite confident that well-built homes, as they are these days in North Queensland, even though we haven't seen a cyclone of this magnitude in our lifetime, we are quite confident that the damage to the modern Queensland or the modern home is going to be minimised. And obviously our hearts do go out to those who are going to be affected by this, as they certainly will be. But anyway, thank you very much for your time, Terry. We'll get back to looking out the window here at Toscana Resort. But that's enough for now. I'm John Naylor from channelwithsunday.com.
Thank you.